as the ultra-wealthy manipulate the Forever program to escape death and retain power, others trapped inside endure a far crueler fate. Felicia, once a digital resident, was secretly restored to a living body by Dr. Crowe, an experiment the public doesn't know exists. Hunted and rejected by those she once loved, she wanders the city as a ghost in her own life, desperate to prove she's real. But when she sees Father Matthias publicly defend the humanity of digital souls, a fragile hope begins to form. Maybe someone will finally believe her. Welcome to the last of 9 more episodes of The Afterlife Trap. In a future shaped by digital eternity, power, identity, and survival collide in a world where the boundary between life and afterlife is blurred. Each story in this series reveals a new facet of that world, where technology offers immortality, but at an unthinkable cost. Felicia Reyes wandered through the familiar streets of her old neighborhood, her heart pounding like a war drum. The faded storefronts and cracked sidewalks looked just as they had before she died, but everything felt different now, colder, lonelier, like the world had moved on without her. The cheap hoodie she wore was pulled tight around her face, shielding her from the judgmental stares of strangers. She kept her head down, moving quickly through the alleys and side streets, avoiding the busier avenues. Her mind raced with questions that had no answers. What was she supposed to do now? How could she prove to her family that she was really herself? The last few weeks had been a blur of fear and desperation. After escaping Dr. Crowe's clinic, she had scavenged whatever food she could find and slept in abandoned buildings, constantly on the move to avoid being caught. A new fear haunted her every night, someone realizing she didn't belong, that she was supposed to be dead, and that she was in a stolen body. She tightened her grip on her small, battered backpack, the one she'd found discarded in an alley, and tried to focus on her plan. Her mother's rejection had shattered her, but she couldn't give up yet. There had to be someone who would believe her, someone who wouldn't look at her like she was a monster. Her cousin Marisol lived just a few miles from her mother's house. They had been close once, sharing stories, dreams, and plans for the future. Marisol had always been like a sister, someone who understood her better than anyone else. If she could just talk to her, make her see reason, maybe Marisol would help her figure out what to do next. The small apartment building was just as she remembered. Peeling paint and cracked windows, the faint smell of cigarettes hanging in the air. She climbed the narrow staircase to the second floor, nerves twisting her stomach into knots. When she reached the door marked 2B, she hesitated, her fist hovering just above the wood. Taking a deep breath, she knocked twice. Silence. Then shuffling footsteps from inside. Felicia heard the lock click, and the door opened a few inches, the security chain still in place. Marisol peered through the gap, eyes cautious and curious.
Marisol.
Felicia whispered, trying to keep her voice steady.
It's me. It's Felicia.
Marisol froze, her expression shifting from confusion to fear.
Who are you?
She demanded, her voice low and tense. Felicia felt a pang of panic.
It's me. I know I don't look like myself, but something happened. They brought me back, but in a different body. You have to believe me.
Marisol's face twisted with disgust.
Get out of here. You're not her. You're one of those freaks, one of those copies.
Felicia's throat tightened.
Please, just let me explain. I remember everything. We used to talk about running away to California, remember? We were going to open that little shop by the beach. You always said...
Shut up.
Marisol snapped, her voice trembling.
My aunt warned me about you. She said some freak came by pretending to be Felicia. If you don't leave right now, I'm calling the cops.
Felicia took a step back, her hands shaking.
Marisol, please.
I said go!
Marisol shouted, slamming the door shut. A moment later, Felicia heard the sound of a phone being dialed and fled down the stairs, her heart racing with fear and despair. Out on the street, she ducked into an alley and pressed her back against the cold brick, fighting to keep herself from sobbing. She could still hear Marisol's voice echoing in her mind, cold, accusing, terrified. Once again, she was completely alone. The weight of it crashed down on her like a tidal wave. Her family didn't want her. The people who were supposed to love her the most had already grieved, moved on, and buried her memory. To them, she was an intruder, a ghost trying to reclaim a life that no longer belonged to her. Her legs gave out, and she slid to the ground, burying her face in her hands. The reality of her situation was crushing. She was legally dead, in a stolen body, hunted by powerful people who saw her as nothing more than an experiment. A shuddering sob escaped her, and she wiped her face with the back of her hand, trying to gather herself. After what felt like hours, she forced herself to move. Wandering aimlessly, she passed through the bustling downtown area, dodging groups of teenagers and businessmen alike. Her eyes caught on a television screen through a storefront window, some news broadcast covering the congressional hearings. Her heart skipped a beat as she recognized Father Matthias on the screen, his voice calm and resolute. He was speaking about the residents of the Forever program, defending their right to be treated as human beings. He looked tired, worn, but determined. Felicia pressed closer to the glass, absorbing every word.
These people feel pain, fear, and despair.
He said firmly.
We cannot simply dismiss their suffering because we fail to understand it. Whether they are data or flesh, they are conscious, and consciousness deserves dignity.
A spark of hope flickered in her chest. He understood. He actually understood. Maybe he could help her. She didn't have anywhere else to go, and even though she didn't know him personally, his words resonated with her in a way nothing else had since she came back. She turned away from the screen and started walking with purpose. Heading towards St. Michael's, she'd seen enough of the news to know that was his parish. It wasn't far, just a few miles across town. As the sun dipped below the horizon, Felicia moved faster, driven by the desperate hope that Father Matthias might see her for who she truly was. When she finally reached the church, the sight of it made her hesitate. Tall and imposing, St. Michael's loomed against the darkening sky, its stained glass windows glowing faintly from the light within. Felicia's pulse quickened. What if he didn't believe her? What if he looked at her the way her mother and Marisol had, as something unnatural? Her hands shook as she pushed open the heavy door and stepped inside. The warm scent of incense filled her senses, mingling with the soft flicker of candlelight. A few worshippers were scattered among the pews, heads bowed in silent prayer. At the far end of the aisle, near the altar, Father Matthias knelt in contemplation. Felicia hesitated, unsure of what to say or how to start. Her footsteps echoed on the stone floor as she moved closer, and Matthias glanced up, his expression softening when he saw her.
Hello?
He said gently.
Are you in need of help?
Felicia opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She wanted to tell him everything, to unload the weight crushing her soul, but the words wouldn't form. Matthias rose to his feet, his calm presence comforting and steady. He gave her a reassuring smile.
It's all right. You don't have to be afraid. You're safe here.
The words made something inside her break, and she lowered her head, fighting back tears. Matthias approached slowly, not wanting to startle her.
Do you want to sit down?
He asked. Nodding, Felicia moved to a nearby pew, her legs trembling as she sank onto the wooden bench. Matthias sat beside her, giving her space but remaining close enough to offer support.
What's your name?
He asked kindly. Felicia hesitated, wiping her damp cheeks with the sleeve of her hoodie.
Felicia.
She whispered. Matthias studied Felicia's face. Suddenly his thoughts flashed to the woman who had wandered into his parish in much the same way. The woman who had the consciousness of two young women, Jamie and Naomi. The realization hit him like a punch to the gut. This wasn't just a lost soul or a troubled young woman. This was someone who had returned from the digital afterlife.
You were in the Forever program.
He whispered. Felicia nodded, her face tightening with pain, and the words escaped faster than she could control them.
They brought me back. Dr. Crowe. He did something to me. I don't know why. I didn't ask for this. I just wanted to be at peace.
Matthias tried to steady his breathing, fighting the wave of unease. He had seen Naomi too, had seen the confusion and fear in her eyes after she returned from the Forever program. The implications sent a chill through him.
What did they do to you?
He asked. Felicia shuddered, wrapping her arms around herself.
They made me into something else. I'm alive, but no one believes it's really me. My mom, my cousin, they think I'm some kind of monster. They wouldn't even listen.
Matthias's heart ached at her words.
I'm sorry.
He whispered.
You don't deserve this.
Felicia looked at him, her eyes hollow and exhausted.
I don't know what to do. I have nowhere to go. I'm scared. Of being alone. Of being hunted down. They took everything from me. My family, my life. I'm nothing now.
Matthias reached out, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder.
You are not nothing. You are a child of God. Your soul, your spirit, is real, and no technology can take that from you.
Felicia choked back a sob.
But I don't even know who I am anymore. I thought coming home would fix it, but it made it worse.
He looked at her with compassion, his heart heavy.
Sometimes, the people we love can't understand what they don't know. Your family is afraid because they don't see the truth. But I see you. You are not a monster.
Her eyes filled with tears, and she wiped them with trembling hands.
You really believe that?
Yes,
Matthias said firmly.
you deserve a chance to find peace.
Felicia hesitated, before leaning into his shoulder, letting herself be held as she finally released her grief. Matthias wrapped his arms around her, offering what comfort he could. He didn't know what the future held, or how they could fight against the monstrous practices that brought her back, but he knew one thing: he would protect her, no matter the cost. As the candlelight flickered softly around them, Felicia let herself believe that maybe, just maybe, there was still a place for her in this world. The Afterlife Trap will continue later in Season 1 of Code and Consciousness, following the story Everything I Couldn't Say, where after a terminal diagnosis, a devoted father programs an AI in his image to raise his daughter long after he's gone. As the years pass, the AI evolves beyond its code, forming a bond that challenges the boundaries between memory, love, and what it means to be family. Don't forget to click the like button and subscribe to get updates as the next episode and other new videos become available.